Hello everyone, I'm coming to you today from the desk of Lynn Fairchild to bring you a song, or rather, the research on a song. Today we're going to talk about Unser Liebe Fraue, and that is the oldest Landsknecht song that we have. It was published in the 1530s. That's about 50 years after Maximilian stood up the Landsknecht companies in what is now today Belgium, but was then at the time part of the Grand Duchy of Burgundy. Unser Liebe Fraue there's a lot of history to the song. If you look on YouTube today, you will find several covers of the song, and it will sound something like this. Unser Liebe Fraue vom kalten Brunnen, bescher uns armen Landsknecht ein warmer Sonnen, dass wir nicht defrieren, wohl in des Wirtes Haus, trag wir ein wollens Sackel und leeren wieder aus. Der Trommel, laram, 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 ai, ririram, frisch voran, Landsknecht voran. And that sounds very nice, but about half of what you just heard was added on in the 19th century. You see, in the late 1800s, there was a youth movement, and honestly I forget the name in German, but it translates to the migratory birds. And this was a youth movement that was dissatisfied with industrial urban life and wanted to get back to nature. And so the idea was that German young men would all go hiking through nature, singing German songs. And so they looked up lots of old, sometimes very old songs, set them to kind of a marching cadence because they were intended to be a walking song. And that's what happened with Unser Liebe Fraue. That's why there's lots of there were lots of old people who learned Unser Liebe Fraue in their youth. This has nothing to do with the movements of the 1930s. It really predates that. Not to say that Landsknecht songs weren't used during the war. They're marching songs. They were, but that's not where they came from. So what Unser Liebe Fraue actually sounded like in period was a little bit different, or maybe not. We'll get to that. But the first publication of Unser Liebe Fraue was from the 1530s, and the music as written says that the song sounded something a little bit more like this. Unser Liebe Fraue vom kalten Brunnen, bescher uns armen Landsknecht ein warmer Sonnen, dass wir nicht defrieren, wohl in des Wirtes Haus, trag wir ein wollen Sackel und leeren wieder aus, und leeren wieder aus. So that was the publication in the 1530s of Unser Liebe Fraue. It's a much more peppy, dancing tune. And then you have to wonder about that, because the Landsknechts were marching or walking, at least, to these songs. And if you try and march to the beat of what I just sang, Unser Liebe Fraue vom kalten Brunnen, my goodness, you'll run yourself ragged. It's almost a jog. So naturally, when you walk, you'll sing to the pace of your walk. And so, although it might not have had the military march sound of the 19th century version, it would have slowed down. It would have been something more like Unser Liebe Fraue vom kalten Brunnen, bescher uns armen Landsknecht ein warmer Sonnen, dass wir nicht defrieren, wohl in des Wirtes Haus, trag wir ein wollen Sackel und leeren wieder aus, und leeren wieder aus. So you can see it much more closely resembles what we're hearing on YouTube, even though not all of the notes are the same. And of course, those notes drift over the centuries. The text of the song is both very easy to understand and a little bit mysterious. The song goes, Unser Liebe Fraue, our beloved lady, referring to the Virgin Mary, of course. But of course, soldiers will always have a little bit of fun with our beloved lady. And who exactly are we talking about? Bescher uns armen Landsknecht ein warmer Sonnen. So, bestow to us, or grant to us, poor soldiers, a warm sun. Dass wir nicht erfrieren in des Wirtes Haus, that we may not freeze in the innkeeper's house. Trag wir ein vollen Sackel und ein leeren wieder aus, like into which we carry a full purse and carry an empty one out again. And of course, that's the common soldier's complaint. Money goes way too fast. Easy come, easy go. But it's the, let's see, Unser Liebe Fraue, vom kalten Brunnen, at the very beginning of the song, our beloved lady of the cold fountain. Now, the Virgin Mary has a lot of appellations, like Our Lady of Guadalupe, Our Lady of Lourdes, Our Lady of the Sacred Heart, Our Lady of, like, there's a lot of Our Ladies. I think Mary has probably like 50 appellations that are commonly recognized, but of the cold fountain is not one of those. So we don't know where that came from. It could be vom Kaltenbrunnen, and Kaltbrunnen or Kaltenbrunnen, cold fountain, is like that's a municipality in a couple of different places. There's one in Germany, I think it's a village, and there's one in Austria, I think, that is a little town. And it would be weird for that to be the source of the lyric. We may be talking about some kind of folk hagiography, that there was an apparition of Mary at the cold fountain, and that just hasn't survived attached to the song. But it may be that somebody was just making the words rhyme with the next verse, vom kalten Brunnen warme Sonnen. I don't know. We can't know. There are another of other verses that were attached to Unser Liebe Fraue that have kind of accumulated over the centuries, and some of those were very likely written in period, but we can't know. There is a collection of poetry, and Unser Liebe Fraue was worked into the text of a poem titled, I think, The Foolish Landsknecht. And there were other verses that were attached, and some of those became, not all of them, but some of them became attached to modern renditions of the song. I think it goes something like "The drummer beats to quarters," and where we stand up on parade. I'm sorry, I don't remember the German text of the song off the top of my head, but some of those were very possibly period verses. Others are obviously not. Some talk about like the Kaiser having a great appetite for land, and we're going to grab Brussels. I hope it satisfies him. No, I think that's much more likely circa, well, World War I or slightly before the Franco-Prussian War era. The Franco-Prussian War is contemporaneous with the migratory bird movement. But there we have the oldest Landsknecht song that we have recorded, and now you know a little bit about it. There are good versions on YouTube. There really are, including ones that have the correct ancient melody. Although I don't think there's anything wrong with the more modern melody. It's very close. It's the kind of thing where if you try and remember a song from your youth, you wind up warping the melody just a little, and that's exactly the kind of just slight variation on the melody that we have between the 16th century version and the 19th century version. So, enjoy singing the song. That's all for today. Thanks.